This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth with breaking news. It's official, guys. The Canadian government is about to murder nearly 400 healthy ostriches, and the Supreme Court is cheering it on. Supreme Court of Canada dismisses BC Ostrich Farms' attempt to save the flock. Dismisses, like swatting a fly. They just proved that they can confiscate your livelihood, kill your animals, and 9 justices will clap like trained seals. Make no mistake, guys, this is not about bird flu. It's about who owns life in Canada. Spoiler alert, it's not you. Right now, up in Edgewood, British Columbia, a family is staring down a slaughter order that has been stamped approved by 9 black-robed priests in Ottawa. Last year, 69 birds died naturally, but the other 331, they're all perfectly fine. Walking around, eating, breathing, living, until the CFIA death crews showed up. I tried to warn about what was coming on national television, which made mainstream news in the United States. Really, this seems like it's a precedent-setting case. This really just goes to show how tyrannical the Canadian government is and will potentially be if this goes down in front of everybody. There's a lot of people covering this. There's a lot of cameras watching. And this may be something that's going to shock the Canadian people. You know, this can be tracked back as far as late 2020, early 2021 during the pandemic, COVID-19 84, as I like to call it, when this Universal Ostrich Farms switched from being a farm that was dealing with birds for food consumption and various cosmetic products and things of that nature to being research birds. You fast forward up until late last year in 2024, and all of a sudden, a number of these birds got sick. In fact, 69 of them ended up dying. We don't really know what it was all about, but the Canadian Food Inspection Agency caught wind of this. They contacted the farm and said, hey, can we come down and do a couple of tests? And the farm allowed them to come in and do that. Now, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency ended up using PCR tests, highly controversial. We know now that they can kind of elevate these levels as much as they want. You can find just about anything using a PCR test. And they determined that 2 of the dead carcasses that they tested had H5N1 avian influenza, and therefore they put in the motion to have all of the birds killed. Now, that was nearly 10 months ago now. We're talking 10 months have gone by. If they have contracted that virus, surely by now they obviously have herd immunity, because the video footage has been showing that they're walking around perfectly healthy. So there's really no good reason right now for them to come in and call these healthy, beautiful, majestic animals. So it's bizarre that it's coming at the hands of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency when they're not even meant for food. And yet they are still the ones calling the shots here. You know, there's kind of multiple sides to this argument, actually. Some people are of the opinion that this is going against the wishes of Big Pharma. This is putting them in a tough spot. They want to block all this research so they can move forward with vaccines instead of healthy antibodies coming from the eggs. Whereas some other people would suggest that the virus itself has never even actually been isolated in a lab per se, and the whole thing is kind of moot, and it's really just perpetuating the government narrative that COVID-19 84 is something you really got to be afraid of, and new variants are something you got to be concerned with. When I went to the farm to interview the farm owners, I managed to identify the exact moment that everything went wrong for Universal Ostrich Farms Inc. If you're a farmer and you don't want to deal with similar things, you have to remain in the private by having no contracts with these government agencies, and you cannot agree to their requests or their orders. In my estimation, here's the exact moment that everything went wrong for Universal Ostrich Farms.
When they came here to inspect, they asked us to have when we had 2 deceased animals. So when we had 2 deceased animals, they said we'd like to test them. We said absolutely no problem.
And there it is. They agreed to let the agency do the test. From there on in, it was nothing but trouble for the farm's fight against the government, who decided that they would send in the death squad. The CFIA rolls up with a notice to dispose, or in other words, kill every last one. The farm then asked the CFIA to test the rest of the flock to prove that they're healthy. Another mistake on their part. CFIA then laughs in their face and they say, it's a stamping out policy. The World Organization for Animal Health says they have to die. Or in other words, the globalists wrote the rule book and Canada just pulls the trigger. The farm owners take it to the federal court and lose. Then the Federal Court of Appeal and lose again. Then the Supreme Court of Canada, they don't even hear the case. They just rubber stamp the slaughter. And here's a quote straight from the black-robed priests in Ottawa. The stamping out policy is reasonable. Reasonable, they say. Guys, if the government can kill healthy animals because a spreadsheet says so, then they can kill your healthy business, your healthy bank account, your healthy future. This is what they're rehearsing, folks. First your chickens, then your cattle, then your pets, then you, when the next pandemic drops. They call it depopulation and disposal measures. I call it premeditated murder with a government logo. Guys, this isn't about bird flu. This is a dress rehearsal for tyranny. Step 1, declare an emergency. Step 2, suspend evidence. And step 3, seize property. Because once the precedence is set that the state can just torch your assets on a policy that ignores basic biology, then private property is no longer private. It's on loan from bureaucrats until they invent a new scare word. Today, Katie Pozitny posted, "This is what pain looks like, Canada." No, Katie. This is what tyranny looks like when it wears a lab coat and a robe. Wake up, speak up, or line up. Because if we don't, the call is going to be coming to a farm near you. So if you're still watching, please share this video before they memory hole the ostriches. Tag every farmer that you know. Post the Supreme Court docket. Make the CFIA trend for mass murder. Because if we stay silent while they slaughter birds for science, tomorrow they'll slaughter us for safety. Guys, if you haven't seen my video, this is Universal Ostrich Inc., a deep dive with Press for Truth. Make sure you check it out. I will leave a link for that in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. If you appreciate my efforts to bring you this information, please consider taking one moment today to make a contribution at pressfortruth.ca/donate. You can find a link for that in the description. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Make sure you click that thumbs up button and leave a comment. And stay tuned, guys. I'm going to have more video reports coming soon, God willing. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.